Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another video with On Point Politics. Make sure to hit the like button and to subscribe if you want more content just like this. Gonna go ahead and change my mic really quick. I didn't realize I did not have it set to my XLR mic. I don't know why it always does that, but what's up, guys? How's it going? I know we haven't live streamed in a couple days since the election, basically, but here we go. We're pretty much going to be back here just doing sort of a post-game analysis type thing. That's pretty much what we're going to be doing. But yeah, so how's everybody feeling after the election? If you guys want to type in the chat, you can go ahead. We'll talk about how everybody's feeling. I mean, I feel pretty good after the election. I wanted Trump to win. So the chat, Andy Pizza says, Alan Lickman is done. Thank God he is gone. His reputation is ruined. I mean, yeah, it's true, because it's kind of interesting. It's very, very interesting, because what's kind of funny about that is now if he predicts any Democrat to win and he gets it right, I mean, it won't really matter, because at this point it would be out of pretty much out of spite. It wouldn't really be out of accuracy. So it's like, if you say the same thing's going to happen, it eventually happen. But we got about 100 people in here, guys. If you are in here on the YouTube, hit the like button, guys. Please hit the like button. It does wonders for the channel. So make sure to go ahead and do that. And yes, I see somebody, you called it, bro. And then you and Alice Polling freaking nailed it. Yeah, guys. So again, it wasn't perfect. My margins were definitely a little bit bullish for him in the swing states, quite a bit. But overall, compared to most people, I was a lot more accurate. And by the way, guys, I kind of have to use the FaceTime camera, because for whatever reason, I just could not find my webcam, like, at all. I don't know where I have it. I have to find it. I thought I had it in my room here, but turns out I really don't. But we'll see here. Do you think JD will run for president in 28? I actually don't know if he's going to do that. All I know, if that does happen, is he'll probably win the nomination automatically. He'll probably just automatically win the nomination at that point, if he were to decide to do that. What's up, Mr. Level? How are you doing? You and Atlas polling nail. I mean, me listening to accurate pollsters definitely helped my margins quite a bit in some of the states. MedStar, why do you think you were off in Minnesota and New Hampshire? It was probably because the states just had a little bit, the electorate was probably too educated, and I underestimated that. And I probably overstated that Republicans were going to gain in the electorates in those states. I actually don't even think that they did. I think the electorates actually got a little bit bluer from 2020 in those states. So I definitely got to be a little bit more careful when creating the electorates for some of the states. We can actually go ahead and check how Kerry Lake is looking. I know I did a video on this earlier. I'm not exactly sure. With 85% in, he's ahead by 1.2%. So, I mean, it's kind of iffy. It's going to be close, but to be honest, guys, I don't know if she's going to make it out. I'm not really sure. I'm going to try to go ahead and look at the modeled result here. I believe the last update that we got at 4 p.m., Gallego's odds went up a little bit. He leads by 1.2% now in the current data, and she's expected to be ahead by 1.5%. But that's using my prediction model, which is more than likely going to be heavily overestimating her. So that's a little bit of an issue too. So I'm not exactly sure, but we'll see. I'd like to see a better house model next time. Well, some of the districts that went blue or red, a lot of the modeling actually ended up getting some of those correct. We can go ahead and look at that too, because let's actually go ahead and look at the house and see. Again, the model's not perfect because it doesn't take into account some of the redistricting that may have happened. But for the most part, some of the flips that I had were pretty good. Like, I'll actually go ahead and take a look at the house. I did overestimate Republicans in the House quite a bit, and it seems like the Republicans haven't netted any seats now. Juan Ciscomani took the lead in Arizona. Alaska, the Republicans still ahead. We're still waiting for John Duarte out of California's 13. So I did overestimate Republicans, but it may have been because of redistricting. That's probably what probably happened. Because you saw here, Alabama's 7th and 2nd ended up going blue. I only had the 7th going, but I didn't even use my original model to fill in all the districts. I actually just used the filled in districts from 270, and whatever was competitive, we pretty much ended up just filling that in. But it seems like the House will probably be pretty close. We're still waiting on some seats being called. We're probably going to finish in the low 220. So my prediction for the House was definitely a little bullish. Like I called Alaska. Mary Patola is probably going to go down maybe. It may go down, and I had her flipping in mine. Arizona's fourth. If we were to go over there, I wonder where I have that. Okay, yeah, so that the Democrat won very easily in Arizona's fourth. Again, probably some redistricting issues there probably caused that. California's third. I wonder where that is. The Republican held on. It counts as a flip. I don't know why. California's 13th district. I gotta see where that is. I'm not exactly certain. I believe it's gonna be here somewhere. Not exactly sure where the 13th district is, but it's probably gonna be somewhere in here because it's probably a really tiny district, but I'm not exactly sure where that went. Let me see, District 13. If we go over here, the Republicans actually narrowly up right now with 62% in, but I do have the Democrat winning. So it's possible that we lose the lead in that district, which may not be good. I do have it as a lean flip here. The 21st district, I wonder where that one is, because that one I have it as a lean Dem flip, or not a lean Dem flip, but it's a lean seat. Yeah, okay, yeah, that's about right, because the Democrat leads by about a point or so. So it's pretty cool because the model wasn't terrible. It wasn't perfect, but it wasn't terrible either. Like in the, I believe if we go to some of these, like the 45th right now, the Republican is seemingly ahead in the 45th. And I have that going Republican. Let's go ahead and look at some of the districts in California, the 47th and the 49th. I want to check these out because I had it going to the Republican. It seems like the Democrats like narrowly up in the 47th. That is a tilt red flip. If we go to in California, once again, kind of closed out the page, but the 49th district, we're going to go here and see where that is. Yep, the Democrats ahead very narrowly, and I had it as a GOP flip. So some of the House seats were wrong, but I got some of them right. So overall, wasn't a terrible model, and it also was more of a generalized model. Like if I probably had done the margins for the House based off the states, it probably would have been way better, like significantly better. My model in the 5th district in Connecticut, the Democrat won by less than 5. I had the 5th district flipping, but I didn't do the state margins individually. If I had done them that way, I probably would have been a lot more spot on in the House, more than likely. I probably would have done a lot better in the House. For whatever reason, I don't know why, but in Georgia, my modeling says that the 7th district is a flip, but I don't even know if that was like even a competitive district. Kind of have to find it here, but I'm not even sure if that was even a competitive district. Yeah, Rich McCormick was the incumbent. So I don't really know why it says it's a district. It's just because some of the districts were redistricted, and it kind of is a little iffy. Illinois, I wonder if that 6th district was a tilt flip for the Republicans, because that one was a very narrow tilt flip. I wonder if that ended up happening. It probably didn't, because it seems like it's in a deep blue area. It almost happened. It was close, actually. So again, all of my House margins are essentially like within margin of error. They're not like, a lot of them are not like 20 points off. Some of them are like somewhat close, but we'll definitely develop a better House model for the midterms, just because it's going to be a lot better to do that for the midterms. But yeah, Alan was super entitled about his prediction, because I came out here and I said, I believe he's the overwhelming favorite to win, but I never said to take it necessarily for granted. It seemed very likely that he was going to win, but I said, hey, I could be wrong about a few states. I did say that. I did say I could have been wrong about Minnesota and New Hampshire. I repeatedly said it over and over and over again. But so who's getting called out in the next video? Probably going to be Let's Talk Elections, or Let's Talk Inaccuracy. I'll probably do him next. That's my new name for him. Let's Talk Inaccuracy is going to be LTE's brand new name. We'll see here. Indiana. Uh, mm, that first district, is the first district blue in Indiana? Is it blue? Yes, it is. Oh, interesting. Okay. So yeah, the model is not terrible. It's like okay. It's not great, but it's somewhat solid. Like it does all right. Now, yeah, main second, that was a horrible miss. That was terrible. I have that being like a 7-point flip. It was literally like a tilt margin. It was like a tilt margin because he's probably going to win the popular vote by 1.5, and Republicans are going to finish off ahead by like 3.7 in the House. So at that point, that's when you have a lot of these, at that point, that's where you get some of these big shifts. So if I were to shift everything back 3 points, yeah, you see, that's where you start getting like, yeah, you see, I would have been right about the 47th, the 49th district. So it all had to do with me getting the popular vote correct. Like if I had gotten the popular vote right, like even more right on the money, that my house projections would have been even better. They would have been a lot better actually. The 17th district, did I get that correct? Oh yeah, the 16th was basically a safe margin. Well, what about the 17th district? I'm curious because I have two very narrow flips here. The 14th district, where is the 14th uh congressional district in Illinois? I'm curious to see where that is. Either way, I ended up doing pretty well in the House actually, contrary to popular belief. But if I had gotten the popular vote better, I wouldn't have had so many GOP unnecessary GOP flips. Michigan's third. If I were to go there, see, I had it going red, but it didn't go red. But if I had gotten the popular vote correct, I would have probably been able to get that right. I would have been able to get that call right. So it all had to do with me getting the popular vote correct. Michigan's seventh did flip. It seems like it is actually going to be a flip there. So that's good. Michigan's eighth. If we were to find that somewhere, I wonder where that is. If we were to find Michigan's eighth, I believe it's like in here somewhere. It's like very stuck in here, but I believe it went GOP as well. Minnesota, the second congressional district, did not go red at all. So that did not happen. We see over here in Pennsylvania, did that seventh, the Pennsylvania's eighth did go Republican. And I believe that my model did actually call that. Yes, it did. It did call it. It's close. It's a lot closer than people anticipated. Same thing for the seventh district. I did get that correct. So the Pennsylvania model did predict a lot of the flips that ended up happening. Let's go to the 11th district and see if I got that right. I'm curious to see if I was able to pull that off. Yeah. Okay, yeah. So the Pennsylvania's 11th also goes red too. Pretty interesting. I did actually get blocked by Ala Lickman's son. That did actually happen. He probably blocked me on his account, but it's okay. Doesn't really matter. Yeah, see that second district in Rhode Island, I did pretty bad in because it was modeled really Republican for some reason. I don't know why. But we're going to be improving the model for the House for sure because I definitely did overstate the Republicans. It does seem like they are going to hold on to the House. Just don't know if they're exactly going to win it by the margin. They're not going to win it by the margin I said they were going to at all, really. Virginia, yeah. See, I had the seventh flipping. I bet you did not flip. Yeah, see, it was close though. Like if I had gotten the popular vote right, I would have gotten a lot of these races correct. I would have gotten a bunch of these right. Virginia's ninth. I wonder if I can find that here. Either way, yeah, if I had gotten the popular vote a little bit more correct, I definitely would have been a lot more on the money. You see, like Washington's third. Yeah, see, I was way off on that. Way off. I don't know why it was modeled super Republican. It probably got redistricted. That's probably what happened. Because some of the redistricting does kind of skew the model a little bit. But some of the flips overall are actually correct. If I look at New York, I'm kind of curious because I want to check out that one. I want to see what districts I got wrong. Yeah, you see, I pretty much had holds everywhere except for the 18th, which I had going red, but I don't think he won the 18th. Yeah, no. Pat Ryan won re-election very easily. The 19th district did not go red in New York. So I got a lot of seats wrong in New York. So that was one of my bigger errors of this election cycle. Definitely the House was pretty bad. And my Mark Robinson victory call was pretty bad, actually. That was not good at all. That was like abysmal. So those are my two biggest L's. But in terms of the Senate, I would have only gotten like two races wrong. Hovde barely lost. Kerry Lake's probably barely going to lose too. I was a little bullish on them in the modeling, but again, since I with the state margins were a little bit off, and the Arizona ticket experienced a lot more ticket splitting than usual, that kind of skewed my analysis there as well. So that was definitely a problem that I also had with the polling. But my biggest win was the presidential election where I got 48 out of 50. He's going to win the popular vote by 2 to 3. So I'm only going to be to the right of the popular vote by like a point or two, which isn't bad. I was a little bit bullish on him, given the fundamentals of the election, given the way that the electorate was a little bit more Republican than usual. If I had weighted my national electorate like a point less Republican, I would have been a little bit more accurate in the House and the Senate and a couple of other races. But it's okay. You know, this is the first full cycle that I've done predictions for. Once all the ballots are counted, and once like the House and the Senate and the presidency, like once all the ballots are counted, I'm going to do like an official video doing like an official scorecard for On Point Politics. So it's definitely something I'm going to be doing in the future. But I think we are going to win the House. I think the Republicans are going to actually win the House this time. And we got the Senate already. And if Republicans get that Arizona seat, it would be really good. And Republicans right now, I think, are already at 50 something seats in the Senate. I think 53. I think. Oh no, it's 52. We're at 52 seats in the Senate. Okay, I think more ballots just dropped out of Arizona, and she gained like 0.1 in Arizona. Kerry Lake just gained 0.1%. In Arizona, 86% of the ballots are counted in Maricopa. Not looking the best. I mean, she could pull it off, but it's very rough. Like all of the outstanding ballots are basically going to have to be Republican. Like all the outstanding ballots are going to have to be Republican. Like heavily skewed Republican. Okay, if McCormick, yeah, that's right. The AP did call McCormick's race. I don't know why they haven't called it already. So we are at 53. And the thing for the Democrats is, unfortunately for them, their Senate map is not looking great either, because they're going to have to flip North Carolina and Maine. And that's the thing. If Susan Collins runs for re-election, that's going to be a hard one for them. It's gonna be a really hard one for them to get through that one, because she's like an electoral juggernaut. Now Trump's not on the ballot, so she's going to be a lot more vulnerable. It's going to be way closer, a lot closer than 2020, when Trump was kind of able to help her out and push her up. But definitely, it's going to be a way closer race than usual. 100%, it's going to be a much closer race than people think it is. That North Carolina Senate race is going to be interesting, because you may have Cooper run for that seat. And if Cooper runs, he is a strong candidate. So is Tom Tillis for the most part. A lot of people thought he would have lost. Turns out he won. So it's that one's going to be a neck and neck battle. It's definitely going to be one of the more competitive Senate seats. Georgia is interesting because you may have a Kemp Ossoff matchup, which, guys, Kemp is not going to win that seat by 5 to 10 points. He's not going to win that seat by 5 to 10 points. It's going to be like a 1 or 2 point race in either direction, because Kemp is not going to have the Trump coattails to help him up. Is Kemp a stronger candidate for Georgia? Yes, 100%. But is he going to win that seat by 5 points against Ossoff? I mean, unless the Republicans just have a really favorable environment, then probably not. And the Michigan seat, to me, looks pretty iffy. I mean, it's possible that we get it, but it's a little But even if they flip North Carolina and Maine, they're still going to be 2 seats short. And from there, I really can't see what other seats they flip besides like a Texas or an Iowa, which even in a bad night for Republicans, I don't even think that happened. So they're going to have to wait all the way until 28 to literally flip a seat. They're going to have to wait all the way until 2028 to end up flipping a seat. And then when you get to the 2028 Senate map, it's the 2022 midterm map where Fetterman's going to be up for re-election. And in Georgia, you're going to have Raphael Warnock. You're going to have Mark Kelly Senate seat up. You're going to have Rosen seat up, or not Rosen, a Cortez Masto seat up. And the thing about that, the problem with those seats is that in a presidential year, if somebody like a Vance, for example, right? Let's say Vance runs in 28, which I think could happen, right? If Vance were to run right now, I'd say he wins all the swing states as well. And if that were to happen, that's really going to hurt people like Fetterman. It's going to hurt people like Raphael Warnock, especially. It's also going to hurt Mark Kelly in Arizona. It's going to hurt, especially going to hurt Cortez Masto in Nevada. So that's going to be a humongous problem for them in the future. Going to be a big problem coming up. And so the Democrats, if things don't go a certain way, if things don't go well for them, they may not win the Senate for a long time. Now, again, it's not guaranteed, but looking at the seats that are competitive in 26, looking at Vance's odds in 28 against another Democrat, it's going to be another establishment show. They haven't learned anything. Clearly from the other night, they haven't learned nothing. It's definitely going to be one of these things where it's just like, Frankie Jr. says, Lester, do you think Pennsylvania will become a permanent red state after stronghold performance on Tuesday? Well, not only that, but Scott Presler is going to try to turn that state Florida. I mean, he said it on the show with Benny Johnson. Scott Presler wants to turn Pennsylvania into the next Florida. He wants to make it ruby red, which I think is possible. And if that is the case, if Pennsylvania ends up being the next Florida, these people are going to have a big problem. They're going to have a huge problem because it's 19 electoral votes, that it's a lot of a chunk of the electoral math. And it's going to be quite hard for Democrats to win that back if Scott Presler keeps it up in Pennsylvania. Going to be very difficult for them to win it back at the presidential level. It may be like a North Carolina, Florida hybrid where it just doesn't really, it goes red and it doesn't really budge. Like it could be that. Arizona, it looks really bad for Democrats now, actually. Now, it may have been that Donald Trump had a unique performance in Arizona because he did so well with Hispanics compared to all of the other Democrats or compared to all the other Republicans. It really could be the case that Trump's victory in Arizona was so unique to him alone that could have been the case. And I do expect Arizona's results to narrow up in 28. I expect every single state to be bluer in 28 because I don't think Vance is going to match Donald Trump's popular vote victory as of right now. That's what I'm speculating. If things change as time goes on, going into that election, and if it seems like Vance is probably going to beat the Democrat pretty easily, then we can talk about expanding some margins and some battlegrounds. But I don't think that a state like, for example, I really can't see how a state like, I don't know, I can't see a state like New Jersey being close. Again, it may be like an 8 or 9 point win for the Democrat. New Mexico, like 7-8. Virginia, maybe like 7-8, possibly. Minnesota, like 6-7. It's 28 may be a close election. And that's what I'm going to say right now. Now, if they put up a bad candidate, if the Democrats put up another bad candidate, if Trump gains in the midterms, if Republicans hold up well, if Trump's policies go through and they're popular and the economy gets better, that's going to be a huge deal breaker for the Democrats. If the economy gets better, whether or not their policies just came after the first term, like because they always believe this delay thing where it's like, oh, the policies don't actually take into effect until years later. Regardless whether or not that's true, the voters are going to perceive it to be that Donald Trump's economy is better, and therefore they're going to have a problem in 28 because it's like you lost and then your opponent did better than you, and now you're trying to come back and ask for another term. I mean, it's going to be really tough for that to be the case. Now, I will say this. Vance has historical disadvantages. Basically, no sitting VP has actually won an election, I think, except for like, I believe Lyndon B. Johnson and George H.W. Bush. There really hasn't been a lot of sitting VPs that have actually won an election. And usually they do a little worse than their predecessor. except for Lyndon B. Johnson in 64 when he basically swept the whole country. But usually when a sitting VP wins an election, they tend to do worse than their predecessor. That's usually always what happens. And so going off that historical fact, states like Minnesota, New Hampshire, Maine, New Jersey, New Mexico, Virginia may trend right. They may not move as left backwards, but they may not be that close. It may not be the only one that maybe if Scott or anybody were to kind of camp for, like, just do a fort or something in like New Jersey, maybe you could have a scenario where that is the case, where you could actually have a scenario where Vance does pick off like a New Jersey, but we'll see. If Gavin Newsom's the nominee, they're cooked. I mean, I'm just going to say it right now. If Gavin Newsom is the nominee for the Democrats at 28, because I see a lot of people in the chat, if they nominate Gavin, it's either going to go very well for them or very bad, because I'm going to say it right now. Gavin is a decent speaker. He is a decent speaker. So more people are going to like him than Kamala Harris. But his policies have been so bad in California that it may actually backfire on them. And the brand of the California Democrat may just not be good enough for the national stage. It may just be tarnished. She may have tarnished the Democrat brand in California for good. And so that is a humongous problem. A big, big problem for them. Huge problem. Heard Allen wants to kick his locksmith ass. Wait, what? I prefer Ron DeSantis for the presidency in 28. I'm going to tell you guys right now, it should not be nominating DeSantis. If Republicans want to win, nominating DeSantis would be a bad idea because DeSantis has no Rust Belt appeal. And I'm going to just say this right now. If DeSantis was the candidate, he would have lost against Kamala Harris. So would have Nikki Haley and would have probably done even worse. Nikki Haley may have won Florida, may have won Texas, probably would have won Ohio and Iowa, but she probably would have even won North Carolina. She would have even won North Carolina. She would have lost like 319 to 219 against Kamala Harris. She would have done really bad in the Electoral College. She would have not done well. She probably would have lost the popular vote by like 3 to 4. She would have not done well. And it's not because Kamala would have turned out more voters. It's because Nikki Haley basically would have gotten none of the low prop voters that voted for Trump. And she would have done significantly worse with Hispanics compared to Trump as well. Johnny Heartdog for 20 says, I think we were either too optimistic or heavily overestimating Trump. I recommend more caution while remaining optimistic. Anything could have happened. You were still better than most, though 5% lead in Arizona, yet Kerry is losing. Yup. I mean, again, she's going to underperform Trump. And it makes sense, guys, because Trump overperformed with Hispanic voters. And there are a lot of Hispanic voters that voted for Gallego, but also voted for Trump. I mean, that's the only way you can explain the results out of a state like Arizona. That's really it. 15% of the votes are left in to go right now. We can see it right here that 15% of the votes left to count in Arizona, with 86% outstanding in Maricopa. And Kerry Lake is on very thin ice right now. Gallego is not at the point yet where we need to call the race. He's not there yet in the model. He's at about 78% odds in the model to win the race. It's possible Kerry catches up. She's not that far behind at all. This race could completely change very, very quickly. But yeah, guys. So as of right now, pretty much my presidential election prediction was decent. Probably only going to get like 1 or 2 Senate seats wrong, and I'll get some districts wrong in the House. But overall, pretty solid for a first-year performance. Johnny Hot Dog, I didn't mean to offend. I just found out it's best to be cautious. I hope Lake is challenging these votes in Arizona. We need the RNC there. Yes, 100%. Gallego is a psychopath. I don't know why anyone would vote for him. His dad literally works for the cartel. I mean, yeah. No, I think it's horrible. Vance/Gabbard, 28, would probably win over Newsom and whoever. 343 to 194. I don't know. We'd have to wait because it honestly really depends on the mood of the electorate. If the mood of the electorate does not like Republicans, then Vance is not going to win in a landslide. It's just not going to happen. It's not. Are you going to do elections from different countries? Possible, especially if Atlas is polling them 100%. I'll look into those. I may try the Canadian election coming up. We'll see. Did you hear that Alan Lippman thinks his life is in danger after he got doxxed? Wait, what? He got doxxed? Really? DNC primary is going to be way more interesting than the GOP this time. Yeah. But yeah, guys, I just kind of wanted to do a little quick stream. What I'm thinking of doing is I'm going to be doing basically a nightly show where I basically just go over all the latest news just so I can keep posting content on here because I want to keep posting. I mean, I like doing this. Is basically my job now, effectively. And so I think it would be a great idea for me to just be covering political news and reporting and giving my honest take on it and seeing what happens. But all right, guys, that's pretty much it for the show. If you guys did enjoy this, make sure to hit the like button and to subscribe if you want more content just like this. And I will see you guys in the next video.